Peter, it's great to meet you. Thanks for joining me today.
Hello, hello.
Appreciate your
My
time. I
pleasure.
had a chance to see the trailer yesterday, and it looks fantastic. I'm really excited for the film. Dogman is based on a series of books by Dav Pilkey. It's a global phenomenon, but for those perhaps somewhat unfamiliar to the series of books, how would you best describe this project?
Well, the premise of the books is that they're written by two 10-year-old kids. It's the two kids who are the George and Harold, who are from Captain Underpants, who make comics. So the idea is that they wrote these books. And so, of course, Dave Pilkey actually wrote them. But so they are their graphic novels, and they are about a character who is, as we say, half man, half dog, all hero, which is Dogman. So Dogman ran into which is shown in the trailer. There was a cop and a dog. There was an accident, and they said we can save the dog's head and the man's body by sewing them together, and Dogman is created. And it's presented in this very innocent and charming way that kids would do, but ultimately the humor and the heart of the stories is both crazy and sophisticated and emotional. So the style guide that I set up beginning from the beginning is I'm calling it intelligently silly, ridiculously cool. So it's ridiculous and cool at the same time, sophisticatedly innocent, and surprisingly emotional. Those were the sort of style guides that we pulled out of the book from the very beginning. And then the drawing style is very simplistic because it's these kids did it. And so it was important not to copy that exactly, but to retain the feel of those drawings and retain this idea that they was handmade. So we kind of came up with a style guide that we called high-end handmade. So it's retaining again the sort of simplicity and innocence of it, but doing it on a big scale and doing it with a really, with high quality. So there's lots of crooked lines and there's lots of brush strokes and there's lots of simplistic, buildings that only have a few windows and stuff like that. But then we're also using the power of CG to give them like realistic reflections and to give the animation and the motion and the layers, a lot of life and make them sophisticated. So the book started as this kind of simple thing. We retained the tone of that and made it bigger. Not reimagining it, but expanding on it.
Yeah, it must be really fun tackling something like this that is so visually explosive and so really visually different to much else.
Yeah, well, it was, it's really inspired by this thing. So we didn't go like, we want to do something different, like nobody's seen. I think it was more like this is how we want it to feel.
Yeah,
We want it to feel this
yeah.
way. And I always knew that, for example, that Dave loves stop motion animation. So we weren't going to do a stop motion thing. But it's like, what is it about stop motion that is appealing? And again, it's that feeling that it's handmade. Also, we animated a lot on twos, so meaning that there's two frames kind of for each picture, which gives it a different feeling, a little more of the handmade feeling. And then if you can describe the tone and the feel in the beginning, then you can let people who are experts, artists, designers, animators, run with it, and it's gonna fit together. You can't just say you're brilliant, go do whatever you want. It's more like, no, I want it to feel like this. And then that's
Mhm.
when I get the benefit of all these people who are so much better at what they do than I am. And then my job is just to keep it together and explain it. So that's been really, really fun and very satisfying. I'm seeing, the movie is almost complete. I'm still seeing new stuff all the time, and we're just really, really happy with the way the movie looks and feels.
That's amazing. And judging by the trailer, it does look really great, and I'm so excited to jump into it. What I really love about the last few projects from DreamWorks in particular is that I feel like the studio's really been pushing the envelope the last few years, experimenting with various different kind of animation and narrative styles. And I think trying sort of getting away from that studio style, so to speak. I can imagine that that's very important to this project here. And do you feel that that gives you perhaps a little bit more freedom to work on something like this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's true in a lot of animation in general. So there was sort of this kind of peak CG thing where, as we say, you push the CG button and your characters all look like vinyl toys, and it's a it's like a nice look and stuff like that. But there's definitely been a move to um, make the art a little more in the forefront. The next DreamWorks movie that's coming out, Wild Robot, very much has that has a feeling of painterly effect and things like that. The Puss in Boots that came out a couple of years ago also had a lot of these kind of more organic textures and things like that. So it's a combination of the capabilities of the technology, right? That you're able to do that, that you can control it, and the increasing skill of the artists as well. So it becomes more what you can want to do. And then there's certain things, obviously the Spider-Verse movie, particularly the first one, was really influential. And it wasn't so much that nobody had ever thought of it, because we'd all thought of it. It's like, what if we have half-tone dots, and what if we do that? But nobody really done it, and because it's super hard and requires a tremendous amount of work. But it breaks open a visual language, which I think is really the best of animation. Is really I think when you can see the artist's hand at work. It certainly is the case if you go all the way back to Snow White or Bambi or anything like that. Is the amazing charm of like watching drawings move. And I think CG got to the point where it was like, it's so perfect, I don't even notice it, how good this animation is. Animation isn't even part of it because it's so good. And so it's nice to mix up the textures and the styles. And we have very simple characters in our movie to bring back, making the creator really part of, what you're seeing on screen.
Yeah, I love that. And you have actually worked across a few of Dave Pilkey adaptations in the past. You worked on a number of Captain Underpants little projects, including the series, the epic Tales of Captain Underpants. Do you feel like you learnt a little bit on those projects that you were able to bring over into this one, or was it sort of a matter of just wanting to kind of start fresh and go from there?
The thing that carries through is a particular sensibility. So it's not as much of the style. I think, the Captain Underpants series is 2D animation, and then we did all kinds of alternative animation things. We did stop motion bits, and we did things with sand, and we did things with stop motion, just all kinds of different stuff. And what that was is something that Dave is really into, which is the spirit of creativity and inspiring people. So that is something and the sensibility and also the comedic sensibilities, which I share very much with him, which are related to self-referential stuff, smart stuff, silly stuff, sort of what I said is intelligently silly. That carries through. So I spend a lot of time in that sensibility. And to me, that's the part that really carries through. Again, it kind of goes back to being able to explain the tone and how something feels. I'm very simpatico with Dave on a lot of that stuff.
That's great, and I imagine he has a lot of a say in what's going on with the film, and really great collaborative relationship there.
His collaboration is, I trust you. I can't wait to see it. Honestly, that's kind of what it is. When I did the TV series, and he didn't want to see it. He was like, I can't wait to see what you come up with. So that's like a source of joy for him, is that I inspired somebody else to make something. And we know when we did that series, and then he said, he sent me an email, and he said, I just was going to watch a couple episodes, but I couldn't stop myself, and I watched the first 13, and he goes, they're amazing. It's like you wrote more books. So he gets this tremendous joy out of seeing that. In this movie, we offer him every step of the way approval on the scripts, on all the different scripts, on all the different versions we have, on animatics, on animation, and all that sort of stuff. And he really is like, I don't want to wreck the surprise. I want to see it when it's done, which is amazing. It's sort of like, it's weird because it's a type of pressure that's like, I trust you. Please make it
Yeah, I
great.
can imagine.
And you're like, oh my gosh, he trusts us. We better make it great.
I love that. That's really, really cool. One more question here. The box office it's having a bit of a rough time over the last few years. Audiences have been a little bit stubborn to get out and into the theaters to see sort of a wide variety of films. But animation, I feel, had a pretty rough patch there. It's sort of getting on the mend now. We've seen recently this year, there've been a couple of big films, which is great. Why should audiences get out into the world and see Dogman on the big screen?
You know, it's interesting because we talk about that, and you go like, what makes a movie worth seeing in the theater? And sometimes it's the scale of it. Sometimes it's the I always think that the fact that how great it sounds in a movie theater. But here's one of the great things about particularly a funny movie, is watching it with a bunch of other people. It's just a great experience to be in a theater with a lot of people. And even though you don't know them, even though you're not talking to them, you have the experience of watching it with people and people laughing at the same time and being together. And also, you know, that for me as a creative person, that you have somebody's attention for sure, right? They're not going to the kitchen in the middle of it. They're not answering the phone, that you have their attention. And you know, the simple fact of the matter is it's the best that it's going to look. It's just looks the best and sounds the best in a movie theater. But I think that thing about being in a theater with other people and watching something that has emotion, something that has humor, is of tremendous value. So I'm really happy and excited that that's the way this movie is being released. And animation's been on a tear recently, so it's pretty great. So it's I'm excited, you know, and there's a lot of fans. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to when the movie opens, going to a theater that's got a bunch of kids in it and experiencing it with them.
Dogman, listen up. You're the only one that can stop him. With all your kung fu skills and your canine fortitude or whatnot. No time to wait. You look at the monitor.